Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there was some new stuff there. Until I thought someone was there.
We're live.
Okay.
Oh.
All right. Good morning. Let's call the February 5th Commission meeting to order. Stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, good morning, everyone. Please make sure you sign in at the back of the room. Also, if you come up to the podium, please say and spell your name clearly for the recording. Hey, thank you, Mr. Gravely. All right. Also, real quick, I want to mention that there is no commission meeting next week on February 12th at this time. Please check back on the website as if something comes up between now and then, we will have it posted. Okay, is there any public comment this morning? Any public comment? Mr. Gravely.
Good morning, Commissioners. TJ Gravely, Public Works Director, Graveley. This is just kind of more of a public notice. It's been posted on the county's new website. Due to staffing shortage, the Broadwater County canister sites could be experiencing short-term closures basically without notice. We apologize for the inconvenience it's caused, but we have had a job open for well over a month and we're not getting any applicants. So with that being said, Dawson Raidersburg will be affected this weekend. Thursday, Raidersburg will be closed. Sunday, Toston will be closed. They will be both staffed on Friday and Saturday. And I do have signs that will go up on these sites, and I will put them up today after the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, is there any other public comment this morning for items that are not on the agenda? Public comment. Okay. All right. First item of the day is the airport hangar lease for Adam McDonald. Commissioner Randolph, were you gonna kind of
I will.
go over that one?
Well, this lease is for McDonald Adventures LLC is the proper name for it, which is Adam McDonald. It is a 20-year lease with renewal terms after that of 5 years, if he and the county so want that to be. Similar to the other leases, there's nothing out of the line about it. K-Minor has looked at it, and the airport board has approved it. So it just needs to get approved today.
Okay. All right. Did anyone have questions? Any comments or thoughts?
Chairwoman Rick Meyer, may I?
Yes, please.
Kaylin Miner, Deputy County Attorney. I just want to say that this is the new version of the lease. The airport board has undergone some changes to the lease, not very many changes, but just some subtle changes, whereas if the lessee decides to end their lease, that the next person who takes over their hangar spot has to get their own lease. We just made the airport board, I should say, made some changes, and this is the new version, and I just want to start calling that out so it's very clear that we're not accidentally using old versions as we move forward. So that's kind of sounds silly, but it's an important distinction to make.
Thank you. Are there, out of curiosity, Commissioner Randolph, you might know, are there other hangars available for lease out there right now, or are they all full?
I don't believe there are, but I don't know that for sure.
Okay.
The airport board has a special meeting this Thursday night, and I will ask that.
Okay.
I'm trying to get caught up on the airport board because the previous commissioner, Dale Felkford, was the point person.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a big board. They do a lot of work. Their meetings are posted online if anyone, and contact information if you need to reach out to them. Okay. Is there a motion?
I'd move to approve the airport hangar lease for Adam McDonald. for a 20-year lease.
I will second that motion.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to approve the airport hangar lease for Adam McDonald for a 20-year term. Is there any public comment? Is there any public comment? Any public comment? Either of you guys have anything additional you want to add?
I don't know.
Okay. All right. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
I have the original. We can get it signed later.
Awesome. Thank you. Will you please remind me of that? Thank you. All right. Next up, TJ Gravely, Public Works Director, purchase of 2 snowplows from Lewis and Clark County, $50,000, as in 50.
Good morning again, Commissioners. TJ Gravely, Public Works Director, GRAVELEY. In your packets is, you have 3 roughly the same age, same vintage trucks that we have looked at as far as purchasing. The hard part about purchasing snowplows around here is they are not around here. They are in Minnesota, they're in Wisconsin, they're in Pennsylvania, and quite frankly, I really don't want to drive to Pennsylvania right now to pick up a truck.
Why is that? I think there would be snowplows in Montana.
I can't answer that
They're all
question.
being used.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Funny
Now
thing
they are.
is, we've had this snow that's going on, so yeah, they are being
Yeah,
used.
no, they are. This winter.
Deputy County Attorney Minor was looking up something for me real quick, and I may have omitted one piece in your packet as far as, it's kind of a why sheet. Why am I doing this? And I'm not sure yet. I do know why I'm doing it. We have a 1985 Top Kick that has been on MacPass since 1985. This truck is past its prime with us, and we are looking to upgrade. With that being said, Lewis and Clark County had originally 4 snowplows that they were going to surplus out, and with the county going into an interlocal agreement, this is one of the perks that was made available to us through a government transfer, intergovernment transfer, I guess is what it says in the resolution. So their resolution was presented yesterday at their commission meeting, being said that we were interested in purchasing these 2 snowplow trucks. The VIN numbers and the trucks are on the back of your packet, for $25,000 a piece. I do know the trucks. I've seen the trucks. Previous Commissioner Folkford and myself actually went in, fired them up, looked at them, drove them around. They seem to be in good working condition compared to what we have. Our 85 goes to Three Forks at about 40 miles an hour, and that's going down the Camp Hill. So, as you guys well know, our phone blows up pretty bad when snow starts flying. And if there's any way that we can help alleviate those calls, mitigate those calls, would be great. The 2 snowplows that we were actually looking at right now are frame mounted, which we can actually put on our gravel roads, where the one we currently have is under-mounted onto the axle, where our clearance is about 4 inches, where we really can't do that without tearing them up. I think this is a great opportunity for us to get 2 snowplows, to get the bus routes and mail routes open first thing. When you've got guys running at 4 o'clock with graders that go 28 miles an hour, I'm sorry, you cannot get through this county on the bus routes and mail routes. With these snowplows, I'm sure there's going to be a learning curve. But I do believe that we can get through our bus routes and mail routes at a reasonable time and get the kids to school on time. With that being said, do you guys have any questions for me?
Yeah. What are we using right now?
1985 Top Kick.
The Top Kick. Are we? Do you guys use the graders at all too to plow snow? Is that
We do.
Okay.
But the snowplow has a sander in it, so all of our oil gets sanded.
Okay.
This was just submitted to Lewis and Clark.
This has been in the works since November. It was before the commission yesterday. So it has to go through the public process in there as well. And it will be in for 2 weeks for public comment, and it will be back on their agenda the 19th for them to sign, if there's no opposition at that point.
Excuse me, Deputy County Attorney, Ms. Minor. Will we need our own resolution for this, separate resolution? Should we move forward on this?
I think just a motion and a public vote would be sufficient
Okay.
for
Okay.
approving or denying this. And I just have a follow-up question, Chairwoman Rickmeyer, if I may.
Yeah, absolutely.
So our county procurement policy requires that TJ fill out Appendix A, which he did. And I'm looking at Appendix A, which everybody has in their packet. It lists 3 vendors. And so those 3 vendors were contacted by your office prior to filling out this form. Okay. And so because of this, Chairwoman Rickmeyer, my question was going to be, did he contact the vendors? He's indicated that he has. I don't think that we need to have any additional information or appendices included. In a previous version of this, we did an Appendix B. That was for a more costly, and it was a sole procurement. We don't need to do that in this instance. That wasn't a question. That was a question and answer.
So,
But I think it's really important to note that TJ did his due diligence, and he went to 3 different vendors, so the county is honoring the policy about checking to get the lowest price, and he has done that sufficiently, and that's a very effective. Thank you very much for that effort, sir.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
can I ask a question?
Yes, yeah.
On that Appendix B, Kay, just for my own clarification, was that over 100,000? Is that what it says on the top?
Sole procurement is the answer to that, Chairwoman Rickmeyer. Sole procurement policy is when you can't, like with the big rig we got, there was no other place we could get one of a similar like model, make, and price. So that was a unique circumstance. Plus, it was also a much higher dollar amount as well. So sole procurement only comes in those really unique circumstances. They don't apply in this instance because he was able to contact 3 separate vendors for price quotes.
Okay.
Does that answer?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
So, if you guys, and I know you won't decide today, so one of the one of the questions I've emailed you guys this morning is, would you guys be willing to pay for one of the trucks out of PIL? As I said before, it's $25,000 a truck. As you can see before you, that's a pretty reasonable price. I could possibly spend more time and buy one for $8,000, but I'm going to tell you what you're going to get for $8,000. You're going to get the same thing that you have right now, which is not, cheaper does not always mean better. Let's just leave it at that. And knowing the shop mechanic in Lewis and Clark County and the road superintendent and laying eyes on these, I do believe that these are our best fit.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I have a couple questions.
Yes,
For TJ. Excuse me. What are your plans with the old snowplow? I don't know if it has any value at all.
Madam Chair, may I answer?
Yes, please.
So I do have a plan for that. I need to bring it before the commission before I have inquiries about the truck. And it would be very similar to what Lewis and Clark County did. It would be with the city of Townsend. They're very interested in having that. What they have right now is a sander mounted on the back of an old state pickup. With our sander, they could actually sand the whole town with one load, where it takes them several hours to sand now. It has been mentioned in the city council, or to the mayor, by the Public Works, and they're on board. It's just the technicalities now. And I'm not willing to do that until I have my hands on the trucks, quite honestly.
Fair.
And you have the staff for the 2, if this goes through and we get 2 new to us snowplows.
I do.
You have the manpower.
I do. The graders won't run as much.
Okay.
If you can go on the county roads and open those up just to get them open, I mean, this last week you guys saw a lot of drifting everywhere. Where the roads will be passable for buses, they can go back and clean up later, which is the intention. Down the road, I would like to get another person but that's not in the works right now.
And Madam Chair, I just have a comment about the PILT, the funding for this.
Mm-hmm.
I am more than comfortable using $25,000 out of PILT, and then you cover the balance out of your road budget. PILT, our best practice with PILT is to use it for one-time things, not salary, not ongoing. So this is certainly a one-time thing, and we do have PILT money left.
Yeah. Thank you. That was, I was going to ask a question along those same lines regarding the Public Works budget, but thank you. So Lewis and Clark, you said, is going to, they're taking about 2 weeks to make a final decision on this.
They'll wait for public comment for 2 weeks.
Okay.
They'll make a decision to sign. I actually watched the meeting yesterday, and Commissioner Rolfe,
Yeah.
and Commissioner Hunthausen were the only two there, and they were in favor of this. Especially doing, the comment they made was actually kind of funny. He says, we'd like to do something for our sister county, which I kind of took offense to.
At least they didn't call us a kid brother or something
Yeah.
like that, right?
Oh, funny.
But I do think that this is a good move for the county.
Okay. No, I think it's good. We will keep it on the agenda for the 19th.
Yep.
We invite public comment. If people have some comment or thoughts, come back. If we get more information, we can discuss it more on the 19th.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. Okay. All right, next up on the agenda, discussion decision, Broadwater County Board of Health bylaws approval. Okay, so I have the honor of being the chair of the Board of Health as well. So the Board of Health did approve this on our January 27th meeting. Went through everything. The only thing that changed or that was updated in the bylaws was the meeting time, which is moved to 3 p.m. So a regular meeting of the board, I'm sorry, it's on page 2, Article 4. A regular meeting of the board will be held on the 3rd, every other month at 3 p.m. starting in January. That was the only thing that changed. Otherwise, everything else is the same as it was. And again, we approved these on the 27th. Do you guys have any questions or thoughts or comments?
I do. I have a question
okay.
on exactly what you were just discussing. Article 4A it says the will be held on the 3rd. The date of the 3rd, or the 3rd Monday, or
I think 3rd Monday.
okay.
So we can add that edit in there.
Okay.
Okay.
And then I had some. So it talks about on page 3, Article 6, the administrative assistant, which right now is Daleen,
Yes.
shall notify all the members of the board meetings. The secretary shall ensure the notice of the meetings. Is that the same person? Because earlier they talked about appointing a secretary. So
Where was that? Where was the secretary language?
E, page 2, Article 3, E, says an appointed position will act as secretary.
Let's update that. I think that just got
And then
missed.
on page 3, Article 6,
Yes.
it uses admin, and then the next one uses secretary. But I believe that's one and the same person.
It is. It's one and the same. So I think
Okay.
that just
And they
got
also,
missed.
that person, Daleen, also does the minutes, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
correct. So let's just cross out and put, since this is just more ministerial, let's put the administrative assistant.
Okay.
For both places.
Yes, so it would say an administrative assistant shall be responsible for such duties as determined by the board.
And then on page 2, Article 3, E, they will appoint an admin assistant.
Yes.
Okay.
Congratulations, Daleen.
Thank you.
All right, perfect. Thank you for catching those.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if they were going to appoint a secretary and an admin.
This is why you are the
I know.
commission, designated commission editor for everything.
Don't put that pressure on me.
All right. Thank you. Any other comments or thoughts on this? Okay. Do we have a motion?
I'd move to approve the Broward County Board of Health bylaws with the suggested edits.
Perfect.
I'll second that.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to approve the Board of Health County bylaws, Broadwater County Board of Health bylaws with edits. Is there any public comment? Is there any public comment? Any public comment? Nothing else from either of you? No? Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. We have a signature page for us back here, so we will get that signed. And I will get the front pages
That is-
edited. That's all right. Thank you. It's one last thing for me to remember to get signed. There. Okay. Right, next up is discussion decision resolution declaring support for and providing funding from the county floating mills for law enforcement, dispatch services, and public safety services. So to introduce this, we have our resolution. There's two resolutions in this process, but we're just going to discuss this one first, and then I will let Sheriff Rouser discuss his on the next agenda item. This is in conjunction with his resolution as we are looking at renewing the sheriff's mill levy. So this resolution, I will read it, but it is basically stating that the county is coming in at its consistent and historical amount to support the sheriff's office fully for the next 5 years. Board of Broadwater County Commissioners resolution declaring support for and providing funding from the county floating mills for law enforcement, dispatch services, and public safety services. Whereas public safety, including law enforcement and the proper detention of prisoners, is a priority of county government that has been reflected through the significant commitment of financial resources by the Board of Broadwater County Commissioners, or the Commission, through the annual budgeting process. Whereas, since fiscal year 2021, the Commission has demonstrated their commitment to public safety by allocating 34.4% of the annually available property tax floating mills to the Broadwater County Sheriff's Office. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Commission will allocate 34.4% of property tax floating mills to the Broadwater County Sheriff's Office effective fiscal year 2026 until and including fiscal year 2030. Should new legislation dictate significant changes to Montana's tax system and decrease property tax as a primary funding source of income for local and state governments, the Commission reserves the ability to reassess this commitment in collaboration with the Broadwater County Sheriff's Office. For purposes of calculating the revenue to be received through this commitment, each year's allocation shall be based upon the actual number of floating mills and the corresponding value of each mill as of January 1st the prior year. For example, in fiscal year 26, excuse me, public safety will receive 34.4% of the floating mills available in fiscal year 25 at the fiscal year 25 mill value. That's the conclusion of the resolution. Just to explain that a little more, we budget on the previous year's mill values, which come from the state in August. So we don't like to wait until August to start our budgeting because the fiscal year starts in July. So we base it on what we had the previous year and go from there. All right. Any discussion on this?
I don't have anything. I
don't have
attended
anything else,
all of Sheriff Rouser's public meetings to date, and there was a lot of support across the board. So I'm very comfortable with our resolution,
Okay.
supporting that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Wonderful. All right, do we have a motion?
I would move to approve the resolution declaring support for and providing funding for the county floating mills for law enforcement, dispatch services, and public safety services.
I second that.
Okay. Does anyone want to add anything? No? Okay. I don't want to cut out our public comment chances. All right. There's been a motion and a second to approve the resolution from the Board of Broadwater County Commissioners, the Board of Broadwater County Commissioners resolution declaring support for and providing funding from the county floating mills for law enforcement, dispatch services, and public safety services. Is there any public comment? Any public comment? Any public comment? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
I did vote aye for the record. Trying to
you
deal
say
with
aye?
public comment over here.
Okay. All right. Before I forgot to mention it, Andy was at the legislature this morning, so she said she probably wouldn't make it. All right. Okay, next up, discussion decision, Nick Rouser, Broadwater County Sheriff, for the Sheriff's Mill Levy Resolution.
Morning.
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 Sheriff Nick Rouser, R-A-U-S-E-R. Real quick, I'll talk a little bit after about what this, I'll read this thing, and then, but thank you guys and Deputy Attorney Minor for all your work trying to get this language done kind of at the last minute, so I appreciate it. So I'll read through all this, so bear with me. Board of Broadwater County Commissioners resolution authorizing ballot vote for up to 39.93 mills for the purpose of providing law enforcement, dispatch services, and public safety services within Broadwater County. Whereas the Broadwater County Sheriff's Office is the governmental entity responsible for providing law enforcement, dispatch services, and ensuring the public safety of the citizens of Broadwater County. Whereas public safety, including law enforcement and the proper detention of prisoners, is a priority of county government that has been reflected through the significant commitment of financial resources by the Board of Broadwater County Commissioners through the annual budgeting process and by the voters of Broadwater County through a voted mill levy. Whereas since fiscal year 2021, the Commission has demonstrated their commitment to public safety by allocating 34.4% of the annual available property tax floating mills to the Broadwater County Sheriff's Office. Whereas the revenues available to the county to fund its departments and services have not increased sufficiently to cover the cost of providing law enforcement, dispatch services, and ensuring public safety. Now, therefore, be it further resolved that the Commission hereby requests that the election be conducted by mail and placed on the following issue on the ballot of the May 6th, 2025 election. The ballot language is, shall the Board of Broadwater County Commissioners be authorized to raise up to 39.93 mills, approximately $1,104,583 for the purpose of providing additional funding to the continued operation of county public safety, law enforcement, detention center, and dispatch services. The impact of the proposed levy will be an additional $53.91 tax on a home valued at $100,000, an additional $161.72 tax on a home valued at $300,000, and an additional $323.43 tax on a home valued at $600,000. An increase in property taxes may lead to an increase in rental costs. The proposed mill levy will be permanent. 4. Public safety mill levy against public safety mill levy. Now, therefore, be it further resolved that the Broadwater County Election Administrator, pursuant to provisions of sections 7.4, 2611, and 13.1.108 MCA and other applicable laws, shall give appropriate notice of the above in the manner prescribed by law for noticing an election. So, I've talked to you guys about this. It's more for the public. The biggest thing I want people to know is this is the same amount that was voted in 2020. It's not an increase at all. I promised to mill 20% less than that because I have the ability to go up to this amount. So it's going to be, next year we'll mill 20% less. I just need to be able to grow with the growth of Broadwater County. I did some research. Broadwater County since 2020 or 2000 to now has doubled in population, and most of that growth was from 2020 to 23, and I don't have the census stats for 24, and I know, talking to Angie, that has still been growing. So we have to grow. Unfortunately, with growth, crime grows. And we've spent the last 5 years building up services that the public wanted. We got 2 positions off of a COPS grant. We got a school resource officer, and we have another position on the south end of Broadwater County. We did offer a conditional offer to somebody that when this passes, they will start to be a resident deputy down on the south end of Broadwater County, which is huge to those residents down there. So the biggest thing, like I said, it's going to be the same that everyone's been paying for 5 years. And, you know, those 5 years of building up all these services, it's just to help maintain them. And I can't continue to grow with a levy that expires. So that's why it's permanent. Knowing that something's going to expire, it's kind of hard to try to hire people and recruit people knowing that the funding may not be there down the road to keep those positions. So if it's permanent, I don't ever have to worry about it again. We can just continue to just grow and provide the services that the residents expect. So
I wanted to add a couple things just to support your statement. First off, I think having the ability to mill less, and really the commitment to mill less, is good, and it's important. I mean, the county wants you to be able to do that, which is why we are coming in with the 34.4% mills. So you have the ability to mill less. So you know that foundation is there for the sheriff's office. I think you've had 3 meetings, right? 3 public meetings so far. And as Commissioner Randolph mentioned, the feedback has been positive. People have encouraged you to keep this consistent, to move forward with this.
Yeah.
And
one more statement. One thing I want the public to know, that in 2020, when this passed, Sheriff Meehan put together a board of, I can't think of the actual title they had. It was a board of citizens that basically helped review our budget, and that is something I am going to, once this passes, I'm going to get a board put together, and then that way the public has a voice to be able to sit down with me and look at where we're at, how much we need to mill every year, so it's the public will have a voice there, because not everyone can make, the public meetings and whatnot. So there will be representatives of the public to help determine how much we'll mill every year. It obviously can't go above the 39.93, but we can always go less. So.
And I think that an important piece of that is, in addition to that citizen board, which I think is an excellent thing to put into action, with our budgeting process, we're meeting with you regularly, like on a quarterly basis. All the departments actually are meeting now on a quarterly basis. So we've got eyes on what's needed. We'll know in advance what's
Yeah.
needed in time
Yeah.
to mill the right amount.
Yep.
Okay. Any other thoughts, comments?
I just want to thank you for hosting those meetings. You're planning on hosting more in the future?
Yep, I got to set those up hopefully this week or next week. We're going to probably, looking at the calendar, end of this month, beginning of March, and then we'll probably have another set of meetings. Right, I got to talk to Angie when the ballots are being mailed out, so it's fresh if people, get a ballot and want to know what it's about. I'll have another meeting right then. I'm doing Facebook Lives, trying to just educate people, talk to people. I'm going to, this week or next week, try to put together a fact sheet about the mill levy. So we'll put it out on Facebook, and, we'll be able to, at some point here, start spreading that. So no misinformation is being put out, and these are the facts about it. And so people can hopefully be educated as much as they possibly can on it.
If people have questions, can they reach out
Yep.
to you directly?
Yep.
Or do you have?
So I'll give you everyone just my direct line to my office. Please don't call dispatch with a bunch of those. They got too many phone calls coming in already with emergency help. But it's 406-266-9265. If you call me, leave me a message. I will call you back as soon as I possibly can.
Okay. Wonderful.
Madam Chair, if I may, excuse me, and you're doing some tours again?
Yep. So I kind of stopped doing those because nobody was showing up. So I started them up this month. I just put a Facebook post out. If people can't make it, if they call me at that number, I can usually set up a tour for somebody at a different time. So, but yeah, they take about an hour and a half to 2 hours and show stats and kind of where everyone's money goes when they pay their taxes.
I've heard great feedback on those, the people that have
Yeah.
taken the tours. You just don't know what's there until you do the tour, so
Yeah.
I think that's great. Somebody at the, the last meeting down at Headwaters Livestock said, and it hit me, I hadn't thought of it this way, so if you have a $600,000 house, basically this is $1 a day.
Yep. Yeah, it kind of put it into perspective
It
for me
did.
too.
Yeah.
So that
I'm like, oh, I
I
mean, I
mean,
saw
$1 a
the numbers,
day.
I've seen them, but
You know,
$1 a day.
and what it's like I've told everyone, I feel selfish because I'm like in it. But what is the public safety worth? We're trying to do the best we can with what we have without having too much, because I understand that things of property taxes, there's been different fees, the city rate. I mean, all this stuff has gone up to continue to provide services to the public. So if I can mill a little bit less, I will. I'm trying to do whatever we can just to keep people safe, because we're just getting busier and busier as the years go on. So,
Well, something I like to say too is if people are like, well, I don't see crime here. There's no, things don't seem bad. There's no crime. That's because there's a really good law enforcement presence here.
Yeah. And I would
guys are
agree.
Out and about. So
you're not seeing it; it's happening.
yeah, absolutely.
You just look at our jail roster every morning. You can sign up for alerts through our website on that. It's almost daily that we have people coming into the jail. Some of those are DOC, Department of Correction inmates, but we arrest, a fair share of our own people, and we're constantly out. And a lot of, on that comment, I'm a firm believer that with the presence of law enforcement, that is one part of a deterrent to crime. Mm-hmm. If people see cops regularly, they're more than likely to not be out committing crimes. If they never see cops, they feel that they can get away with it. So we're trying to be seen. We're trying to drive around the neighborhoods and do proactive patrols all over the county. And so our calls for service have been kind of plateaued out in the last couple of years, but I believe that's because we have a few more deputies, and we're also catching things as they're happening and not the next day. So.
Right. Well, as a parent, I greatly appreciate having the school resource officer there. I think that's a huge thing for our kids, and considering what goes on at schools all over this country, it's nice to know that Sergeant Cordova is there.
Yeah,
I say sergeant or deputy, sorry.
He's sergeant.
Sergeant, okay.
But yeah, I agree. It's like like I can't remember, maybe at all the meetings, I don't remember. But I wish I could have like goggles to show like what I see, because I try to walk through the school every morning. I don't make it every morning, I didn't make it this morning, but try to walk through, say hi to the teachers, the kids, and just talk to Sergeant Cordova, see how things are going. He does get cases down there, so it's not like he's doing nothing. He does get cases once in a while, and he's able to just work them right there and interview everyone. And even more important than that, the bonds he's creating and with the kids is something that was a vision I had with that, and seeing it come to fruition is like make me cry sometimes, just seeing the bonds he's creating with these kids, and just the relationships, and knowing, like you said, that he's there if something happens. I guarantee you, if you were to call where these major incidents have happened, Uvalde and all these other places, and ask them if they ever expected this to happen, the answer would be no. So you never know where it's going to happen. We have threats at our school. Thank God a lot of them are like a hoax, but we take them serious. So we've had bomb threats where I've had to go out in the middle of the night, call Sergeant Cordova, because he's got a master key, and we have to clear the entire school. So if you've never been in the school, go just look around, imagine, and open up every door, every cupboard in every classroom, looking in every locker, the shop, all the way from the high school to middle school to grade school, to make sure those kids are safe. We had a day where it was some stupid TikTok thing where it was calling for National Day of School Violence. Well, it takes one kid to think that that's real, and then something bad happened. So that day we didn't have an SRO, so there was 2 or 3 of us wearing vests walking around that day. So just knowing that he's there if something happens it's a huge peace of mind to me as the sheriff, but also as a parent, knowing, like you said, that he's there.
Yeah. No, I think you guys are doing a great job, and I think all the officers here just work. They treat everybody with respect. They work really well in the community, so it's good.
Yeah, and that's, like I said, I think at the last couple of meetings, that's what I'm looking for. I know through my career, community policing has been huge, and I see people that, I may have worked like in Marr County or Jefferson County years ago, but just creating those relationships with them. And I still see them to this day, and it's a positive interaction with them. And, as a coach, I coach kids, and I'm looking for deputies that come in to help do those things around here and help make an impact. And, I'm a firm believer in training our replacements. I will not be here forever. So, to train the next captain, undersheriff, sheriff, deputies, whatever it is, dispatchers, attention officers, it's important to make sure that we're training people and getting people here that want to be here.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Anything else?
Not for me.
Okay. All right. Do we have a motion?
I'd move to approve the resolution for the Broadwater County Sheriff's Office mill levy.
Oh, can you do the
Yep,
title? Sorry.
Oh,
Go ahead
over
and just
here.
read the
You got
resolution
it.
title. Yep.
For the Board of Broadwater County Commissioners resolution authorizing a ballot vote for up to 39.93 mills for the purpose of providing law enforcement, dispatch services, and public safety services within Broadwater County.
Thank you.
I will second that motion.
Okay. There's been a motion and a second to approve the Board of Broadwater County Commissioners resolution authorizing ballot vote for up to 39.93 mills for the purpose of providing law enforcement, dispatch services, and public safety services within Broadwater County. Is there any public comment? Is there any public comment? Any public comment? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
So I have a clean copy here.
Perfect.
I think a blue pen.
I've got blue
Want me
pen.
to sign mine, and then
Yeah, go ahead.
you guys can, and then.
Perfect, and then Angie can attest.
Never mind. some reason one of them had one.
No?
I don't have a signature on it, that's just
Oh, you don't?
guys.
Oh,
Yeah.
just us, yeah,
Just
that's true.
have
That's right. You get to sign too.
So, yeah, and then I think Angie has to file those with her end, so you just want to email me both of them whenever they get
Yes.
all filed and done, and then I'll just print off a copy for my file.
Sure.
Okay. All right, well, thank you guys very much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Nick. Thank you. Lots of resolutions today. All right, next up, discussion decision. County Attorney Kevin Bratcher, resolution for the appointment of special deputy special deputy county attorneys to assist with prosecution of certain felony cases.
Good morning, Chairwoman Rickmeyer.
Good morning.
Kevin Bratcher, Broadwater County Attorney. That's Bratcher. And I'll just read through the resolution real quick, and then I'll chime in on my thoughts on it. So this is a resolution for the appointment of special deputy county attorneys to assist with the prosecution of certain felony cases. Whereas the Broadwater County Attorney has requested prosecutorial assistance in the case of State v. Krumenacker and State v. Larson. And whereas it is desired and deemed appropriate that a special deputy county attorney be appointed to assist in the prosecution of the aforementioned cases. And whereas Montana Code Annotated Title 44, Chapter 4, Part 111 authorizes and contemplates that the training coordinator for county attorneys and the Bureau Chief of Prosecution Services Bureau, together with the deputies within said Bureau, act as special counsel on request of the county attorney and upon approval of the Board of County Commissioners. And whereas Montana Code Annotated Title 2, Chapter 15, Part 501, Subsection 6 authorizes the Attorney General to provide assistance to county attorneys in the discharge of his or her duties. It is hereby resolved that the attorneys assigned to the Prosecution Services Bureau of the Department of Justice are hereby appointed as special deputy county attorneys for Broadwater County for the purpose of assisting in the prosecution of the aforementioned cases, and that any said deputies can fulfill the functions set out in Montana Code Annotated Title 44, Chapter 4, Part 103. It is further resolved that under the terms of this agreement, no fee will be charged for attorney time provided by the Bureau, and assistance in such cases is provided without an hourly fee. Witness fees and expenses, transcript costs, jury costs, and other normal costs associated with trial will be the county's responsibility, as with all other prosecutions. And for the commissioners and the public sort of information, these two cases that I'm asking for help on are involve allegations of sexual assaults involving children. These are particularly serious cases, and given that my office is short an attorney, and it doesn't cost the county any extra money asking for help from the Attorney General's office, I think it's appropriate to ask for their assistance in these cases to make sure that justice is being done and nothing is falling through the cracks. All the I's are getting dotted and the T's are being crossed.
All right, thank you. That's horrible, but I'm glad you have the resources. That's good that they have that set up to help you out. I don't have any comments or thoughts on this additional. Anyone else?
I just have a quick one. Kevin, what will be your role in this, if any at all?
So I will be working with them on these cases. They will have control over the case, but I'll still be involved, and my goal is basically sort of, like I said, that they're going to be helping me, making sure all the I's are getting dotted, T's are getting crossed, and also so that way my primary goal is to be in contact with the victims' families, so that way I can keep them appraised of what's going on while also making sure all of the more technical aspects are getting taken care of.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Any other thoughts, comments?
I just think it's awesome that this is available. I mean, I think that's really cool. So,
Yeah.
and especially no charge.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
even better.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Okay. All right, is there a motion?
I'd move to approve the resolution for the appointment of special deputy county attorneys to assist with the prosecution of certain felony cases.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to approve the resolution for the appointment of special deputy county attorneys to assist with the prosecution of certain felony cases. Is there any public comment? Is there any public comment? Any public comment? Okay.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, please.
Sheriff Nick Rouser, Broadwater County Sheriff's Office. Knowing, since we got these cases, originally came into our office, and the extensive work that they take on the county attorney side, I just want to say that it is, in working with the AG's office in the past and whatnot, that they do help out a lot, and these cases are very, very, I imagine, overwhelming, and not the probably the most exciting ones to kind of dig into and get into the details of. So I just want to thank County Attorney Bratcher and his office for all their hard work on it.
All right, thank you. Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
And I forgot to print off a clean copy as I was running out the office.
I think my copy is good.
Thank you.
So
Yeah.
we can use that one.
And then once that's filed, if you could just send it over to me so I can send it to Dan.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You bet.
Mr. Bratcher, would you close that door behind you, please? We're getting like an echo from the audio. It's weird, I can hear it echoing, and then I think it echoes online too. Thank you. All right, next up, discussion decision. Nicole Brown, Community Development and Planning Director, resolution updating Broadwater County subdivision fees.
Good morning, Commissioners. Nicole Brown, Broadwater County Community Development Director and Planner, presenting to you the amendment to the Broadwater County subdivision review fees. We've been discussing this for a few weeks now, which has been great discussion. We've had comments from the public. These have been posted online. No new changes from the last meeting that I'm aware of. Maybe recommendations from the commissioners for some additional amendments, but as far as amendments from the last meeting, I do not have any.
After looking at this, and we discussed this a little bit in our meeting yesterday with Deputy County Attorney Minor, which is a public meeting, so everyone knows it is noticed. We do not make decisions, they're working meetings. We did discuss just some edits and that we want to bring up today that we thought would be good. Obviously, everything that was online, anything we edited from the previous week was highlighted in yellow, or that we suggested making. I believe we looked at on page 2, under preliminary fees, we wanted to just put kind of a disclaimer there that says these fees are project dependent and will be assessed as applicable. And I believe Deputy County Attorney Minor can explain that a little more if I muddle through this for a minute. Okay, but looking at it, if you were, most of the fees are if applicable. So if you put if applicable on one fee, you're going to have to write it for every fee. So we thought we'd just do a blanket if applicable, because they are not going to be applied to every single subdivision that comes in for the preliminary fees. It depends on what they are. Did you have any thoughts on that?
No, I agree. I mean, the entire schedule of fees itself, Madam Chair, are actually, if applicable.
Yeah.
So, to add that statement, it doesn't harm to add, nor does it harm to not have that statement in there, because they're all, if applicable. And also, I want to be very clear that anytime a developer comes in, or a potential developer, subdivider, I should say, comes into my office, we sit down and walk through this fees, because as you can imagine, very initial, like even before pre-application meeting, very initial conversation, and usually the first, if not second question is, what is this going to cost me? And so we walk through these fees very extensively, dependent on the project that the individual is considering bringing forth. So, yes, these are available online for anyone to look at, and come up with their own assumption of what their fee will be. But, even before our pre-application meeting, we do walk through these. So we're not just throwing it out there cold. But so anyway, that was a long answer to your statement of, if applicable,
It's fine.
it doesn't hurt or hinder to have it there or not. So.
Okay. And then part of that was last week, under the county contracted, too many same syllable words, county contracted hydrological analysis review fee. Last week, I think, or the week prior, we had changed it to if applicable, and then put a disclaimer that the fee is project dependent. So obviously, if applicable, came out, and we just said county contracted hydrologic analysis review fees. We didn't specify engineering. We felt like we were being redundant, and this fee is project dependent and may exceed $4,000. So that expectation is there. Would anyone else like to chime in on changes?
Yeah, if I may.
Yes.
The other thing that we talked about was just adding another disclaimer on there, or not disclaimer, but another line item for, so we have the county contracted hydrological analysis, but in case there's, which I know what's happened in the past where we had to get an outside engineer to help review a road, just to help cover those costs to make sure that we aren't being responsible for it, the taxpayers aren't being responsible for it. So just having a county contracted engineer fee, and then just have it project dependent so there's not a price listed. It's just basically stating if we have to get an outside engineer, the developer is responsible for paying for it, not the county.
And it just states project dependent in the pricing, project dependent.
I believe those were the only things we talked about yesterday at our working meeting.
Yeah.
Everything else stayed the same.
We had updated just the wording under those amended application fees, but it's what is online, so I think that's all the same. That was it. Actually, under phasing fees, we have, under phasing fees, online it said in addition to major, minor, preliminary review fees. I think that was, we were suggesting saying in addition to major, minor, but I mean, that's just, oh, it's the same, never mind, sorry. It's like one word difference on the copy I have. All right, okay, perfect. Anything else? I think we can vote on these today if we want to. We have had 3, this is the 3rd meeting we've discussed the subdivision review fees. Does anyone have anything else to add?
I do not.
We can vote. I will have to do get a clean copy. We'll have to make those edits. So for the motion, just with edits.
Do we want to read the resolution?
Oh, yeah.
Would you like me to read it?
Yeah,
Into the
I'm gonna
record?
do that. That's good. I get focused on the fees. Forgot that there's a resolution in front.
Correct. So this is a resolution updating Broadwater County subdivision review fees. Whereas the Broadwater Board of County Commissioners has adopted subdivision regulations pursuant to Section 76.3501 MCA that requires the review of subdivisions within its jurisdiction. Whereas Section 76.3602 MCA authorizes the governing body to establish reasonable fees to be paid by the subdivider to defray the expense of reviewing subdivision applications, and whereas Broadwater County desires to update its schedule of fees to reflect the current costs associated with staff time, administration, and review of the subdivision applications. Now therefore be it resolved that the Broadwater Board of County Commissioners shall adopt the 2025 amended Broadwater County subdivision review fee schedule effective upon approval. And yes, Madam Chair, I will get you a clean copy and have it in your office for signature this afternoon, and then get it to Angie.
Thank you. Anything else?
I don't.
Do we have a motion?
I would move to approve the resolution updating Broadwater County subdivision fees.
With edits.
With edits.
With edits.
Thank you.
I will second that.
There's been a motion and a second to approve a resolution updating Broadwater County subdivision fees with edits mentioned today. Is there any public comment? Any public comment? I had a sneaking suspicion you were
I
going to
just have
come
a
up.
question. Bernadette Swenson, Swenson. I just had a question on, say, the engineering hydrological analysis review fee, if applicable. Do we know if this is just on subdivisions that require an EA, or is it all subdivisions, minor, subsequent, minor, and major? And my other question was, on like the road department fee, that used to be on majors only. So just for clarification, is it also for all subdivisions moving forward? Just because I'll have to use it, I would just want clarification to exactly what ones they were. And I believe the fire protection one is on all subdivisions, minor, subsequent, and minor, but just to make sure on that. So that was just my questions, is mainly those three. If there's any, like the hydrological fee, if there's no EA, is it still going to be maybe a requirement? So just clarification.
I'll answer that, and I'll let Director Brown chime in. I think that's why we wanted to do that disclaimer at the top. They're project dependent and applicable only depending on the project. So that's why we were going to put that up at the top, right by preliminary fees.
Right.
Right here.
Yes.
Yeah, and just so people know, like, because it was too much in this to try and.
Oh, that I
say
understand.
Say
I
what each one was
understand.
going to be for.
I just didn't know on like that if it was tied into an EA or not. So I just
Chairwoman
wanted
Rick
clarity.
I'll interrupt. I'm so
Yes,
sorry.
no,
Deputy
please
County
do.
Attorney
Please do.
Minor, these are project specific. You are not able to answer that question, ma'am, with all due respect.
Thank you.
Only Nicole Brown is able to answer that
Yes.
question during a pre-meeting for
Fair.
an application meeting.
Okay, thank you.
That's just the long and short of it,
Yeah,
because
thank you.
hypotheticals are going to get us nowhere, with all
Thank
due
you.
respect.
Thank you. That's
Okay.
what I think I was trying to say, that it was just,
Yep.
it was broad, and then it would get worked out with Director
And
Brown.
legislator might change everything too.
There's
So
that.
please, let's let Nicole Brown, she is the person who conducts those meetings. No, and I don't think you even have to give an answer now, ma'am. I'm just saying, in the future, the answer that Ms. Swenson had, you are the go-to. She's like, gee, thanks.
So I tried to take a stab at it to save you from having to stand up, but thank you. Okay. Do you want to add anything?
I do want to add something
Please.
regarding these, the road fees. It used to be for majors only, and I believe that was intentionally amended. I don't know at what reading or at what point that was amended to be road fees for all subdivisions, because all subdivisions are going to have increased road traffic. And so, while Ms. Swenson is correct, it used to be for majors only. The intention was to have it be for all subdivisions, similar to the fire. So minor, subsequent minors, majors.
So is it okay where it is?
Yes,
It is, okay,
it's intentionally where it is
Perfect,
supposed to be,
okay.
and the majors only has been removed intentionally.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. I appreciate that. Okay. Bernadette, thank you for your comment. Okay. Is there anything else on those? Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the resolution updating Broadwater County subdivision fees. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye, with edits. I'm sorry, let me add that, with edits. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. Okay.
I'm recusing myself.
Okay.
This next item.
Okay, next item up is discussion decision. Nicole Brown, Community Development and Planning Director. Appeal of December 11th, 2024, denial of Heineman boundary relocation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nicole Brown, Broadwater County Community Development Director. presenting to you a request from Mr. and Mrs. Heineman to take another look, essentially, at their boundary relocation request of December 11th. Just to recap, on December 11th, there was a boundary relocation request from Mr. and Mrs. Heineman near the Springville area. That boundary relocation request was denied by the commission. My office subsequently received a letter from Miss Brianne Johnson asking for an appeal of that decision. So today, this is the appeal of your December 11th decision. Mrs. Heineman is present today, as well as Miss Johnson, so if you have questions of them specifically, I have nothing further to report on this or to add to this conversation, so I'm going to take a seat and obviously be able for any follow-up questions you may have.
Okay, thank you. I made a couple notes, Commissioner Randolph. I was going to kind of go through a couple notes just in general, just to give us some background, and then we can kind of discuss more, if that works for you. So with this, and I've read through everything, and I've read through Brianne's letter in depth, obviously. So the commission is tasked, and this is for everyone's good to hear, the commission is tasked with assessing subdivision exemption requests and determining if a request is evading the subdivision process. Mrs. Heineman's request was previously denied based on Broadwater County subdivision regs 2b7, stating that the proposed changes to Lot 2 of the 380 Views 3 subdivision materially alter the final plat. However, the letter did mistakenly cite 2b7. And I'm sorry, I'm having trouble reading today. The first one, excuse me, it was denied based on Broadwater County subdivision regs 2b6. While the proposed boundary relocation does materially change the final recorded plat, per the Broadwater County subdivision regs 2b7, an applicant wishing to change a recorded final plat allows the applicant to use the exemption claim process to do so. So again, the commission today has been reviewing the criteria for the exemption while looking at Mrs. Heineman's boundary relocation request. Again, our responsibility is to follow the MCA and Broadwater County subdivision regs. Our job on the commission and the regulations are there to protect the best interests of the public and to keep a level and fair system for development in the county, which is why we go back to those regulations and look at things. That's on us, and that's part of our review. Specifically, per the Broadwater County subdivision regs 9b2, exemption review criteria, the commission is looking for patterns of development, the nature of the applicant's business, the history of the tract in question, proposed configuration of the tracts if exemption is completed. So that gives a little background on, I think, what we are looking at and what we are assessing. Commissioner Randolph, if you'd like to make any comments, I have some thoughts after looking through all this, but if you have something, please go ahead.
Of course I do.
Okay.
But go ahead, and I'll jump in if it's okay.
Okay.
If I agree or have questions.
In my assessment and reviewing all this and looking back at all the legal and all the paperwork and what we have in MCA and in our regs, I had to look at the fact that I know, Mrs. Heineman, that your business is not development primarily. I do know the lot in question, it's part of a subdivision that you developed. It's bordered by additional property that you own and plan on developing. And additionally, you have another subdivision in the county as well. So I'm looking at that, and my consideration was, is this a pattern? Is it not a pattern? Personally, I don't think it's a pattern in that area. I do think you develop. I think you have the right to develop. I think you go through the process for development. I could not justify a pattern here this is my personal opinion at this point. And I don't believe the request exemption meets conditions to support a denial.
Where to start?
I know, there's a lot of things to
Well,
consider. I was trying to
Just
summarize.
so for everybody's
Yeah.
knowledge, we have studied this very hard. I have a whole file just on this, in addition to the other things we covered this morning. I appreciate your statement, Commissioner Rickmeyer, that it's not a pattern, in your opinion. I think it's really, really close to a pattern. And it's a judgment call, and that's for us to make. I'm okay, and it took me a while to get here. I'm okay saying it's not a pattern, but the caveat or the part 2 of that is Broadwater County is going to be doing a closer examination of boundary relocations, family transfers. There's just a big article in the Gallatin newspaper about family transfers. So I think a lot of counties, not just Broadwater County, which isn't a bad thing because every lot is not meant to be developed on or created or built on, is what I'm trying to say. And we have to look at that. With family transfers, boundary relocations, we don't have an opportunity to talk about schools, roads, et cetera, et cetera. So we just need to, and we still won't, depending on what the legislators do up at Helena.
Right.
Who knows? This could all very much change. But right now, I must and will give more in-depth critical evaluation of all of these that we get in front of us. Couple things around this, and this is kind of what made me struggle. All around this is these lots are 380 minor, 380 view 3, and then Springville, which I know is not a subdivision, but it could have been, or if it was created later, it certainly looks like a subdivision. I do have one question, if it's okay.
Yeah,
for Mrs. Heineman. If you don't mind. No,
Will you come up?
Sorry.
Thank you.
In looking at this, if this is approved today, what are your plans, or do you know your plans for these other lots that are in Springville?
Mary, I'd ask you not to answer that. She's represented by counsel. Counsel will answer.
And I think this is getting to the larger question of, is it a pattern of development? And the reason I want to step in is...
Madam Chair.
Oh,
Yes,
you need to say
please, can you
and spell.
Oh, excuse me, yeah, sorry.
Say and spell your name. too.
Brianne
Thank you.
Johnson,
Sorry.
B as in boy,
I was
R-E-E-A-N-N, Johnson, J-O-H-N-S-O-N.
You never know.
I've done this a lot in my life.
Yeah.
Counsel of record for Mary Heineman. And the reason I approach is not to get down your throats, I think, but because I want to be careful about what the commission is asking in a public forum regarding this particular application. And the Springville town sites have a weird but not uncommon history in the state of Montana. We deal with this all over. We had somebody at some point in time, 1800s, 1900s, had a big idea and went ahead and platted and put forward a town site, and then that big idea didn't manifest. But there are those platted lots and there are roads that are platted. They may never have been dedicated or turned over to a government entity. And so we are sitting there with those things on the record, and you can see the way that subsequent changes in land use patterns around Springville kind of left this one chunk, but there's chunks that were actually cut off, which is what the Heineman's property is adjacent to. And so, yes, while that Springville town site is there and platted, that is so long pre-existing and at a very different time and a very different land use pattern. But what happens is then when we come into the modern day and we've had land use patterns change, or some things have been eventually undedicated, or that's not the technical term, but or no, there, you end up with these little teeny tiny bits that are hanging out there. And from a responsible development pattern standpoint, and I work both sides of this, both pro and anti-development, because I'm an attorney. What you end up with then is kind of almost a problem, and especially for governmental entities, that then if these are not somehow incorporated into a more reasonable development pattern, you have these little tiny bits that are hanging out there that are not saleable because they're not buildable, or there's nothing that can really be done with them. They can't be actively farmed because they're teeny tiny. They can't be built on because they don't meet sanitary spacing requirements for wells and septic. And so you end up with inadvertent open space, which sometimes can be a good thing, but a lot of times ends up becoming a jurisdictional nightmare, both for the subdivider and for the governmental entity. And so when you ask about what does she plan to do with the rest of Springville in the context of the pending application, I think I want to make sure that I clearly delineate that the parts of Springville that are these little tiny chunks that are probably going to be problematic if they aren't already, will be in the future, is what I would consider to be almost like an administrative cleanup for how we handle those little bits and pieces that don't really fit anywhere. As for those other lots in Springville that are full lots, you know, for whatever they originally platted on, I think that comes down to also, have to look at it, there's still going to be issues, you know, as far as sanitary spacing and all of that, because those guidelines, I mean, I believe the Springville town site was platted when we were still without electricity and plumbing.
1897, I believe, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Originally in 1871.
1871.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It
we
was
had a very different
re-platted
idea.
in the late 1800s as well.
Right. We had a very different idea about what was considered sanitary for spacing. So that's why I want to be very clear at this point about whatever her future development is. There's other problems with the Springville town site because of the time in which it was platted and the fact that it continues to exist into a modern time where we would never plat something like that. So if you want to ask her some further questions, but I just want to make sure that we need to be clear about that some of those things are, again, very theoretical because there might be other land use changes that would have to happen in order for that to even become more broadly developable. And I do believe, and Bernadette Swenson can correct me if I'm wrong, that we have a smattering of some roads that have been recognized and used and some that are platted but never actually happened. And those are going to be subject to potentially a boundary realignment or some sort of process, even if that boundary realignment has to occur before minor or major subdivision could go forward. There might be other things that would have to happen because those roads have to be either off the record, because we don't want to end up later you go to build and you're actually built on top of a platted road. So those are some of those land use patterns that have to be brought into the modern age, and we have to use that under what the code and your regulations allow.
Okay, thank you. I think part of my consideration in all this was really just breaking it down, because there's a lot going on, and just breaking it down to what is allowable in MCA, what is allowable in our subdivision regs, and of course there is that gray area that the MCA obviously so gives us, which is maddening and at the same time is good in other ways. So I definitely don't want to, I personally don't want to consider what's coming next. However, I wanted to make very clear today what we are considering. And again, it is in the subdivision regs when we're looking at these boundary relocations and any other subdivision exemptions. And we are looking for those patterns. And that's something we will continue to look at and consider. Is there anything else, Commissioner Randolph?
Not right now.
Okay. Director Brown, did you want to add anything else?
Madam Chair, no, I don't have anything further to add to this discussion. I think that Ms. Johnson did a good job of kind of explaining why, essentially the why this boundary location is being requested. So.
Okay, thank you. Deputy County Attorney Minor, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, thank you, Chairwoman Rickmeyer. You all have covered it, and I think you just stated it a moment ago, that where the MCA allows these, it still mentions that you have to consider evasion, whether or not the evasion is occurring. Nobody's saying it is or isn't in this case right now. And so you guys did, you communicated that you went through the process in our regulations, those specific criteria that are set forth to give you all a better insight on that ruling that you are about to make. So I do appreciate you explaining the process in public, and I appreciate also Commissioner Randolph's commitment and yours, Chairwoman Rickmeyer, and I'm sure any other commissioner who may do this in the future. At being particular about the process so that it's documented, it is precise, and it's that it's a consistent application of these going forward, because things have changed somewhat. I mean, the landscape's always changing. So I really appreciate your precision in this matter. I think that that's what it boils down to. The additional time allowed you all to be more precise and look more closely. Scrutiny is not actually a bad thing. It's just making sure you're doing it right. So that's what I just want to say. I want to applaud the commission for their in-depth look at this time.
Thank you. I think I would, it's my goal to make sure people understand why we're making the decisions we're making and what criteria we are looking at when we're making those decisions. And I want to be able to articulate that.
I don't know if I'm out of turn, but may I?
You can come up. Yeah, that's fine.
More used to a courtroom, so the commission meetings sometimes. May I approach?
Yes.
Again, Breanne Johnson, BreanJohnson, Counsel of Record for Mary Heineman. I appreciate that the commission is talking about being more specific, because I will say from the landowner representative perspective and the landowner perspective, especially once they bring counsel into record, when we are receiving those written decisions, what facts were considered in addition to the regulation that is being cited, that is being violated and or complied with, should be more clearly spelled out in those decisions, because based on your own regulations, we are supposed to get a written decision, and then we have a certain amount of time from that written decision to either say, okay, and let's regroup and go about it a different way, or do we appeal? But when you appeal, what we're also doing, should we get at odds, which is never our goal, is we have to set a record at this level, because the next step after this is the district court. And if there are not sufficient facts in the record on which us to base our appeal, I have to put everything, grandma in the kitchen sink, into one of these in order to attempt to figure out, beyond a conclusory statement of the regulation or the statute, what it is about the application that did not comply with that regulation or statute. And so I would ask of the commission going forward that when these written decisions are issued, that this kind of more detailed consideration that maybe is happening within the commission is reflected in those written decisions, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
It'll be interesting to see what happens in the legislature this year and in the coming years. It's crazy what's going on with water, with resources, and it is an understatement. But it's something that, I mean, we find ourselves in a position where we want to protect and do the right thing by the people who live here and the resources that are here. And at the same time, we are not anti-development. I mean, growth is here, growth is coming. We want to do it the right way and make sure it's done. So moving forward in the future, we're not cleaning up messes behind us. So I really think that's our primary focus and intent. And obviously, again, MCA doesn't always make things black and white. There's a lot of gray. So. All right, thank you, everyone. Is there anyone else who wants to contribute to the conversation? Okay, I don't have anything. Okay. All right. Do we have a motion?
I will move to approve the boundary relocation for Heineman. Sorry, I don't have it in front of me.
Are we approving the boundary relocation, or are we approving the, are we acknowledging the appeal? What is the?
Oh, I didn't think of that.
That I'm just based on.
Chairwoman Rickmeyer, no, I believe that the motion to approve the boundary relocation is appropriate. That's
Okay.
the ultimate,
Okay,
that's what their initial request was.
Okay.
And simply the appeal and appeal letter submitted by Attorney Johnson is just say, hey, look at it.
okay,
You made one decision December 11th. Look at it, please, and you did. And I think that the ultimate issue is whether or not you're going to approve it. Yes. So I
Perfect.
think the
Thank you.
motion was appropriate.
thank you. Okay, I will second that motion. There has been a motion and a second to approve the Heineman boundary relocation. Is there any public comment? Is there any public comment? Any public comment? Just run up, no? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right, thank you. Thank you.
Commissioner Rickmeyer, I don't know if you printed that off. We talked last week about doing that on
Oh,
consent
yeah.
agenda.
Okay, okay, let's do that.
If that's okay with you.
Yes, please. Thank you for the reminder.
Yeah.
I cannot remember everything. Clearly, I can't read. It's written for
That's
me
why
all
it's
the
a team.
time. Thank you, I appreciate it. All right, for consent agenda, this is a resolution opposing legislation limiting or prohibiting Montana Association of Counties lobbying on behalf of its members. And this is really interesting, probably more so to us, but there are a couple bills right now at the legislature, and they are trying to prohibit any of these public organizations from using, from lobbying on behalf of its members, and they are saying, because they are using public funds to do so. However, there is a court case from 1974, I cannot remember the name of it off the top of my head, that said public entities are allowed to do this. We do not follow the same rules as private lobbyists, and for good reason. I don't know how we would. Okay, thank you. We'll talk. Well, I'll read it. Thank you. I'm giving my summary, my synopsis. It would be hard to imagine how we would raise the funds in order to represent our public organizations. I don't know. That'd be one heck of a bake sale. So we want to oppose the bills that are coming out, and especially in this case with MACO, who is the Montana Association of Counties, that represents all 56 counties in Montana, and it's an incredible organization, and it really gives the counties a voice. So the resolution, again, opposing legislation limiting or prohibiting Montana Association of Counties lobbying on behalf of its members. Whereas Broadwater County is a member of the Montana Association of Counties. Whereas Montana Code Annotated 7-5-2141 authorizes and empowers Montana's counties to join and pay for such membership with county funds, allowing for the cooperation with other counties of this state to further good governance and protect county interests. Whereas the Montana Association of County Commissioners was formed in January 1909 for the purposes of providing advocacy on behalf of its members at the state legislature. Whereas in 1973, the association was reorganized as the Montana Association of Counties to allow for the creation of a permanent office and authorize the hiring of an executive director and appropriate staff to further that purpose. Whereas the Montana Association of Counties represents all 56 counties in Montana and shares the same constituents as the entire Montana legislature. Whereas without association representation on legislation that impacts counties throughout the state, advocacy by elected county officials will be muted through lack of representation in the Capitol building. Whereas the alternative of sending commissioners to Helena will result in significant time and costs incurred by each member county. Whereas, while Zoom is an option for remote testimony, in our opinion, it is not as effective as physical presence on a daily basis as legislation develops and does not allow meaningful participation outside the hearing rooms. Whereas, Local governments are intergovernmental partners in performing the work demanded by our constituents, and the passage of legislation requiring local governments to carry out the demands of legislature requires consultation with intergovernmental partners to ensure the consequences are intended and decisions are informed. This is based on Bradley v. Saxby, DC 1974. United States District Court, District of Columbia. Whereas the state of Montana, the legislature, governor's office, and other statewide elected offices utilize and pay dues or fees with taxpayer funds for membership in similarly missioned organizations for advocacy on their behalf, which is inconsistent with the effort to limit the county's collective votes. Whereas the Montana Association of Counties, with direction from its leadership as elected by the full membership, carries out advocacy on the collective policies and direction of county elected officials, primarily county commissioners. Therefore, be it resolved, by order of the county commissioners, they hereby oppose any legislation that limits or prohibits lobbying by the Montana Association of Counties, dated this day of 2025. Sorry, that was supposed to come out. We will take that out. All right. I cannot imagine how much time, after even just being at legislature for a week, how much time we would have to commit. You would not be able to work our jobs because you would be full-time trying to follow what is going on in the legislature. Never mind the fact that it changes at a moment's notice half the time.
Chairwoman Rickmeyer,
Yes.
I also believe, if I may be heard, that the lobbyist cost would run the county at a minimum of $10,000 a session, at a minimum. That's a very conservative estimate, just based on what I was able to kind of see what lobbyists are charging. So
Yes.
would be a significant burden to the county budget. I just wanted to add that in.
Thank you.
About the financial efficiency
Yes,
that
thank
you're
you.
offering there.
And Chairwoman Rickmeyer, I'd also like to add that these bills that are sort of the focus of this resolution would also impact Deputy County Attorney Minor and myself.
Yes.
We, being members of the Montana County Attorneys Association, it would basically sort of involve every legislative session, either both of us, myself or Deputy County Attorney Minor, all of y'all having to go up to the legislature to basically spend several months being unavailable to the courts, unavailable to the public, to be there in person, or spending tens of thousands of dollars on lobbyists. So I think this bill, the impact it has on local government is a horrible idea. And so as on behalf of the county attorney's office, and I think everyone else, we would oppose this bill as well.
Thank you for that, because it's every public association. So with MSPOA, did I say that right? MSPOA, so the Sheriff and Peace Officers Associations, the clerk and recorders, like there's all the
Association of
different,
Planners.
planners, all the associations that are publicly funded, and we keep going back in legislature right now for a lot of these bills to say you can vote people out every 4 years if you don't like what's happening. You have that ability if you think we're doing something wrong. But when you vote us in, we're trying to represent your best interest. MACO in this situation is representing the county's best interest, and they are fighting for us. And they do a lot more than just during legislative session. They're working for us year round, and they're a wonderful resource. So anyway, I fully support this resolution. Yes, please.
Can I speak?
Please.
Okay. Just since the Montana Association of Clerk and Recorders were brought into this in your comment, I'm Angie Paulson, Broadwater County Clerk and Recorder. I do think that I can see part of the reason why this bill was brought. So just saying, from my own personal opinion as a clerk and recorder, we want to make sure, obviously we have MACO advocating for us, but it is also our job to bring our concerns to MACO and not just MACO coming to us. So that's, I'm not saying they're just doing that, but there are things I disagree with, and I will go up and testify against. So, though I do think this is the best way fiscally for the county to be represented is through MACO. I think that we obviously need to make sure that those are, if we're bringing something, it needs to be, and they do ask opinion, obviously there's the few that don't agree with with their lobbying or whatever, so.
Absolutely. Like, we are not forced by MACO in any way, shape, or form to lobby or support different things. And the commissioners go up and attend legislative session on their own, whether it's in agreement with what MACO is standing for or not. We can speak for ourselves. There's no rules around that. However, when MACO is going to support something, they do a great job of letting us know what they're supporting, what they're fighting for, and how that affects the counties. Thank you.
Madam Chair, may I add
Yes,
to that? If I may, a perfect example of that was the 95 mills. Not every county agreed with that. We were one that did not. So that was a perfect example. We do have our own power. And just to give some background, during the summer sessions, summer district meetings, every other year, they start the process of counties can bring resolutions or ideas to MACO. They vote on it, then they bring all those district ideas, if you will, resolutions, to the board meetings, and the MACO board will then vote on, yes, let's take this forward, let's wait, let's trash this. So those, MACO doesn't just run on their own. They do listen to and they may not agree, so, as Angie said, but the MACO doesn't come to the board with ideas. They may, I shouldn't say that as a blanket statement, but it's much more driven from the board of directors.
Yes, I was going to say the executive board and works for us, for the counties, and they'll bring that to MACO.
And the executive board of MACO meets every single Monday this time of year with the MACO staff to get an update and what's going on. So I just wanted to let the public know, MACO isn't just going rogue.
No.
And if something new comes up, we get weekly emails and they want our support, or for us to tell them, no, don't do that.
It's an amazing resource because keeping up with the changes just in all the different bills alone would be completely chaotic. But I think the biggest point here is just that the payment, as Deputy County Attorney Minor made the comment, is just how would the county even afford this? We would not have our interests represented. It'd be very, it would not be feasible for us to pay private lobbyists to do this.
And our work here would not get done.
No, not at all.
If we were in Helena all the time.
No. All right. So, do we have a motion? I don't think there was a motion yet, is there? Okay, thank you. We all pontificated a little bit.
I'll let you do it since I don't have it in front of me.
I will move to approve the resolution opposing legislation limiting or prohibiting Montana Association of Counties lobbying on behalf of its members.
I'll second that.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to approve the resolution opposing legislation limiting or prohibiting Montana Association of Counties lobbying on behalf of its members. Any public comment? Is there any public comment? Any public comment? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right, thank you. We need to, there is an extra line in here, so we'll have to do a clean, I'm just going to write on here, do a clean copy, and then we'll get that to you. Oh, you do? Awesome, thank you. All right. Okay, we have some minutes. Thank you for bringing those. Excuse me. We have minutes from January 15th and January 29th.
I would move to approve the minutes from January 15th and January 29th, 2025.
I second that.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to approve minutes from January 15th and January 29th. Is there any public comment? Any public comment? Any public comment? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay, we have claims, a couple sets of claims. First claims are for $28,994.69.
I move to approve the claims in the amount of $28,994.69.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to approve claims for $28,994.69. Is there any public comment? Is there any public comment? Any public comment? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
My blue pen's dying.
All right, second set of claims. Next set is for $11,130.34.
I would move to approve the claims in the amount of $11,130.34.
I second that.
All right, there's been a motion and a second to approve claims for $11,130.34. Is there any public comment? Any public comment? Any public comment? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Is it the pen?
I know who it's me.
She forgot who she was.
I hate that. Got 2 more days this week. Well, 2.5. All right, last set of claims is for $22,001.51.
I would move to approve the claims in the amount of $22,001.51.
I second that.
All right, there's been a motion and a second to approve claims for $22,001.51. Is there any public comment? Any public comment? Any public comment? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. I almost started signing before we passed the motions. I still have to ask for public comment 3 times, even on claims. Yeah,
Everything.
everything. Sorry, everyone. Thank you. Is there anything else? Anyone wants to add any announcements?
I don't have anything.
Updates? Okay.
You
No
already
meeting
mentioned no
next
meeting
week.
next
Yep,
Wednesday?
no meeting next week.
As of now.
As of
As of now, please check back.
Things do change.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, we will adjourn. 11:45, since that clock is fast.